listen, super excited for another Thursday Thoughts. I am here with the legendary, actually, I was about to start throwing out a lot more words, but he's already dancing, so I don't think I'm going to continue that.
Give me some more.
Okay, I'm sorry. The legendary, incomparable, stylish Natasha Wilson. Give it up for Natasha. What's up?
No.
Well, that's what your name says on your Zoom. It says Natasha Wilson.
Oh, because you know why?
Folks, welcome to Thursday Thoughts with Kyree Terrell, who currently has Natasha Wilson as his name. Don't worry, that's his boo. She's also awesome. But we're going to talk to Kyree today about video production for small business. So before we get too deep into it, I want to tell folks, make sure you are sharing this discussion. We are live on Facebook on the Navitas Marketing page. We're also live on the Zoom. So for anyone that's watching on Zoom or on Facebook, feel free to send us in your questions. If you're actually on the Zoom, you can just like blurt out questions. Thank you to Taja, who's actually here with us on the Zoom already. But if you have any questions or any thoughts, feel free to put them in the comments or chat them to us. Or if you're on the Zoom, just let us know. Unfortunately, my man Kevin is not going to be here with us today. He's taking care of his little baby. And you know what? I say, you know what? Take care of him. Make sure he's good and not sick and none of that stuff. So you actually get a break from hearing me today. Usually I come with at least one or two jokes about Kevin. And I probably will also do that, even though he can't defend himself today. But don't worry about it. He has tough skin. He'll deal with it. But again, wanted to get right into it and introduce you to my man, Kyree. And let me make this a little smaller so you all can see his picture with Mayor Kenny over here on the side. And I'm going to read this to you because he's a very impressive dude. I'm not just saying this because he happens to be my cousin and he happens to be my business partner. The dude really does impress me. Kyree is an award-winning producer and a 15-year veteran of the video industry. He is CEO of Focus Studios and Focus Weddings, which produces video content for hire. He's also the CEO of mynewphilly.com, which I'm a partner of, one of Philadelphia's top independent media outlets. And Kyree has been and has taught all positions in the video industry, including, let's see this list here, man. First, we got what? Actor, host.
List me.
We got a director. He's an editor. He's a producer.
I'll be doing that too.
A production assistant. And last but not least, he's a pretty good videographer too. So give it up for Kyree. Thank you for being with us yet again today, Kyree. This is your second Thursday Thoughts. Thank you for joining us, man.
It is, man. And I apologize for the name switch up on my Zoom people. School's back. Young Kyree Terrell is using my laptop to go virtual schooling. So that's why I have Natasha's laptop. But anyway, I'm glad to be back, Zach James. You know, I could talk about video production all day and a night, you know.
That is very true. That is very true.
And you know, I'm a maven, so I love to teach.
And I'll even second that by saying, I can think of plenty of nights where we've actually been up at 11, 12, 1, actually having conversations about video production and client projects. So I can attest to that. This man is a little bit of all over the place and everywhere. And before we jump into a little bit about video content and how you can use it for small business, and again, give you guys a heads up, we're talking two different types of video content there. We're talking what you can do on your own. So this is stuff that's like free of charge. It's going to cost you time and energy, but we're going to give you some tips on things you can do on your own to help promote your business with video. And we're going to give you some details on what the pros do and what you need to know about doing professional video. But before we jump into that, Kyree, just give us a quick breakdown on how you got into this space, going from the actor and being in front of the camera to now behind the camera. Give us a quick rundown of how that went for you.
Long story short, I started off, I'm a showman. You know, anybody who follows me or knows me personally knows I'm always being silly. I'm always having fun. I've always been that way as long as I can remember. And it's crazy because I didn't have the best upbringing, but I just was always a people person and like to make people laugh, like to do things for people. And I always loved to perform. So I got into acting and I got into modeling, and I was mildly successful in the two. I have, you know, magazine covers. I've been in plays, ton of plays, a lot of reality shows before, you know, they were super popular.
Mm.
And I've been featured on a lot of different TV outlets when I was much younger. I'll be 39 next month. I started off in that kind of industry when I was like 18, 19-ish. So I've been doing it for quite some time. But what I started to see when I was going on auditions and I was being sent out by different agents and what have you, was that the people in the room were of abundance, the people that were trying to get the roles. But I would often see the same people behind the casting desks. I would see the same people on different sets when I did land a job. And I started to think, there's more opportunity on that side. And not to say that there was like a project shortage, but the same folks were working on different projects, but there were always different, you know, auditioners. And I was always fascinated with that side, but I just didn't know how to do it. And then as I started to, you know, go on more and more castings and auditions and not get them, I was like, I gotta be in control of this. I gotta figure out how I can make my own way. A la Tyler Perry, Issa Rae, you know, some of those types of folks. Spike Lee's a great example of that. So that's what started to drive me into wanting to learn the other side of the camera.
Gotcha.
Started that process in about 2010-ish was when I kind of started studying the craft of filmmaking.
Cool, man. Awesome journey. I feel like I'm just gonna say it right here. Kyree is the next Tyler Perry. He'll have his own compound and studio city to himself someday. But he's on the journey, and I've actually seen it firsthand last few years, and really impressed. I mean, I literally met Kyree and was predominantly a sales and marketing guy. And today I can say I'm a content creator probably first, and then marketing and sales after that. I actually learned a lot of my passion for content creation from Kyree and a lot of the other great folks at My New Philly. So Kyree, let's hop right into it for the folks. Let's just first give them a quick education on video and why. Like, I think a lot of folks kind of have that question. Why are we doing video? What is the value that you get from it? And I'm going to throw all these stats on the screen and we can kind of go through them one by one. But a lot of this stuff is really impressing to me when I read it. This first stat says over 500 million hours of video is watched on YouTube daily. That's a lot. I don't think people really know what that really means when you say 500 million hours every day. Like, I know myself, when I go to YouTube and start watching something, usually I'm going to be watching a couple things because they suggest other things for you to watch, and you start kind of ping back. It's like a black hole of your time. So I do my best to kind of stay off of it. What are your thoughts towards how much video is getting consumed these days? Like what have you seen the changes since you came into the industry into now?
Well, YouTube is TV now, right? And YouTube has gotten really, really good. Obviously, YouTube is powered by Google now. They've gotten really, really good at the algorithms. What that means is preemptive strike upon your attention. That algorithm basically goes toward what have you watched in the future, or in the past, I should say, to predict what you'll want to watch in the future.
Gotcha.
That in a nutshell is what the algorithm is based on. It's based on viewership and sales, right? So they want to predict. That's why when you go on your timeline, when I pull up YouTube, it looks totally different than the people watching at home or Zach's or anybody else's YouTube, you know, explore screen, because it's based on what we consume. And that the things that go into that algorithm are obviously what you've already clicked on and watched, how long you've watched, if you've only watched 10 or 20 seconds or you watched it all the way through, how many like those videos you watch. So maybe you watch, you know, I watch a lot of sports content on YouTube. So I always get, you know, the new SPN this or the highlights from this or whatever it may be. Obviously, you guys know I watch a ton of video content and tutorials about video specifically. So I always get that type of content popping up. And I watch other creators, so I get that type of stuff popping up. And then when I click a link, like if I click a link and I buy something, that's a super algorithm boost, because that is how Google makes money as well. So they want you to do that. They want you to watch that program again. And I don't know, maybe you bought a t-shirt or a hat or whatever. They're going to give you more content and more opportunities to do that same behavior.
Right.
And then the other thing that goes into that, though, that many hours being watched, is because back in the day when TV, especially before the invent of TiVo or on demand, you used to have to watch your program when it came on. Is anybody old enough to remember that? When you had to be home at 8 p.m. or you missed it. So you can imagine how that shrank the consumption of TV, which was also video in those days. That shrunk the consumption because everyone was watching at the same time, and there was a lot less programming to watch. There was once a time when we only had regular TV, and that was about 5 or 6 channels, and you watched whatever came on those channels, and everyone knew what was coming on. Now, you probably can't count how many programs are available when you're adding in things like streaming TV. Cable television is super duper vast now. And have a ton of networks that are like YouTube that aren't YouTube that content is produced on. And then obviously you have YouTube, which is the biggest one. So that's the one that people go to. It's like turning on your television, right? But now I have endless possibilities. And when you have endless possibilities, obviously more is going to be consumed.
And one thing you mentioned earlier in that was that you said you watch tutorials and you're basically getting an education from YouTube. And that's something that we really want to relay to small business owners and entrepreneurs that are watching, is that you want to use video content as a vessel to brand yourself as a thought leader, to be that resource of information that people are looking for. Because as they come and get this free information from you time and time again, the benefit that you're getting is when they do need something that they can't just do on their own, or that they want to hire a professional for, you're the one that pops up in their mind as the go-to person because of all that content they've consumed. This was the case, 20 years ago with some people who wrote tons of blogs, and of course those blogs still have value today. But before, it was who's written the most articles about a topic. That's who is the expert. Now it's just so much better to communicate through video via our next stat here. Viewers retain 95% of information they watch in a video versus 10% that they read. That is very critical and important. Watching it is going to make someone be, more interactive and really receive more of your information than reading it. I think we always say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and then we say a video is worth 1,000 pictures. Which technically means a video is worth 10,000 words. I don't know if I did the math right, but it's probably close to that. But yeah, it's really important as a business owner to put out content to educate people. Then it's an inbound marketing strategy. It brings them back to you. Another stat here is videos on social media generate 1,200% more shares than images and text combined. That alone is a great reason as to why you should put video on your platforms. Again, we're going to dive into the different types of video in a second, but remember, 1,200% more likely that someone's going to share it or like it or click it or something, interact with it. Why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that? And then again, videos embedded on websites can increase traffic up to 55%. That is also very important. You want to draw people to your site because that's where you're making your transactions. That's where you're converting people from being sort of interested and knowing about your brand to actually engaging with your brand or purchasing your product or service. If you can increase the amount of people going to your site, that's more business you're going to be able to do. And you want to be able to put quality video on that site so folks are really engaged. So now, Kai, we're going to jump a little bit into different types of video we want folks to do. And we're going to start with the do-it-yourself stuff. I think this is really important to give folks sort of a rundown on content that you would be creating on your own, because not every business can afford video production, can afford what it takes to actually go to that level and create high quality video. It's something that a lot of people have to build to. So how can you still take advantage of video prior to having the budget to go out and do it? And that's what we call your do it yourself. So this first one I'm gonna put on here are selfie videos. So I think by this point, most people, even if they're not even comfortable with being on camera, have done some form of a selfie video. Maybe not self-promoting, but they're familiar with it. I mean, I don't think cameras or phones are even sold without the camera on the other side that you can take a selfie video. I mean, I feel like we've gone past that. There is no, if your camera's coming out and it doesn't have a selfie camera on it, it wasn't made in 2016 or newer. It just wasn't. But these are some of the benefits that I recommend with selfie videos, and feel free to give me your thoughts on this at any point, Kai. I think the four main things I like from doing a selfie video is it gives you the ability to connect with your audience. Being able to hold that phone and talk to them about a topic or an opinion you have or something, it feels like they're talking to you or you're talking to them. It's a connection that goes right in line with building rapport. It's almost like if you were going to a networking event and you have to engage and talk with people. That's the kind of way that you can talk on these selfie videos and then populate your YouTube, your social media pages with that content where people are directly engaging with you one-on-one. Another benefit that I think is really important in selfie videos is they can be done on the fly. It's not something that always needs tons of preparation, pre-production. When we talk about the professional video, yes, production is key. Knowing what you're doing before you turn those high-powered quality cameras on is very important. When it comes to this, you can kind of just have a thought right away. You might be sitting in your car and you just had a thought about something you want to say to your audience, pop up your phone, do it, and you're not losing the effect with the audience. And Kyree, I know you talked to this really eloquently. Can you tell people about how people suspend their reality for the different types of video that they're receiving?
Definitely. And the crazy part is we just were talking about YouTube. There was a time when people suspended their reality as well on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that was the content that was created on YouTube was kind of like, what's this? I don't know what this thing is. It's just YouTube. And whatever you put on there, kind of, it just went. It was like, all right, this is the piece of content. It's just YouTube. But now people are really looking for quality content on YouTube, right? And I think that same thing doesn't apply to social media to the point of the selfie video. Mm-hmm. I think suspended reality on a YouTuber versus a Instagrammer has changed. I think people understand that Instagram, even Facebook still, and Twitter, people still, post videos on Twitter. And I think Twitter also has a live feature as well. You almost expect that you're going to see the selfie video. I think almost is even gone. You do expect that you're going to see the selfie video on those platforms. You expect that you're going to hear wind blowing in the background and, a siren riding by. You expect that it's going to be off the cuff and all of those things that you listed. I think that is, it's even something that I struggle with as a content creator, that really recently I've decided, I'm just going to do a lot more of those style videos because I do know what I'm talking about. I don't have to always polish up my screen and my background and use my dope camera and my dope lighting to get a small little corny point across. So I think small business owners especially need to really take advantage of the high quality that your phone is now able to produce. Androids are better for photos. So if you're a content creator, you may want to grab an Android and do your photos. But if you are going to do video, I would suggest an iPhone because you'll get still high quality photos, but you'll get much higher quality video content, which obviously is what we're talking about.
Right.
You can invest in one little light. I mean, they have lights nowadays that you can get off of Amazon for 10 bucks, and these are going to give you really good, soft lighting for whatever you may be shooting. And you can get some cool stuff done. You can just shoot your product and talk while you're shooting your product for a little voiceover. It's better than a photo because, as Zach mentioned, you're going to get 1,200 times more engagement on that video. So even if that video is just some moving text and some moving words with a little voiceover behind it, that's the route to go than to just put up a photo. And the other side of that too is Instagram and Facebook, they don't want you to put up an advertisement, a blatant advertisement. They'd rather the way this Zoom looks and it's just me in a blank background and I'm talking, that's the style of video that they're going to give you higher engagement on. If there's words on your screen, they're going to lower your organic reach. That doesn't mean you can't go crazy and go viral with a video that has words on it. But if you're a regular person, you're just starting, you don't have, a million followers or whatever it may be, you may want to lean more toward the selfie video to build your engagement. And then every now and again, drop something that's more polished for your audience to like and share.
That's a great tip. Indeed. And I think another thing to talk about the selfie videos are they're very authentic. That kind of relates a little bit to connecting with your audience. As you can see, Kyree is being very authentic with us per the chimes and bells that are going off in his background. This is real self. And another thing on the selfie video is that you don't really have to edit it. Kind of what he was speaking to. People are expecting something different from your selfie videos. So it's a little easier to do because once you do it, you can post it. I know a lot of folks do some light editing on their phone. I've become a big fan of iMovie and doctoring up my videos before I post them. And that's a skill set that anyone can learn to do simple things like adding a name, adding a call to action, adding some words on the end. But again, like Kyree said, you don't go overboard with that because algorithms actually serve you better if you don't. Next thing I want to touch on here is live video. So again, with the selfie videos, you can do those live. You can also do them recorded. I trust me, some of the selfie videos I put up in my phone, there's like 7 videos because I had to keep doing it until I got it right. And I didn't like the way I looked in this one, or I think I stumbled on this word. So I record it until I get it right, and then I put it up. What I would say for live video is, live, clearly you don't have the chance to make those types of mistakes. But again, even more so, that reality is suspended. Someone knows this is happening in real time. Some people are watching live videos to find the mistakes and to see what goes wrong or what's going to happen. But the nice thing about live videos is the algorithm is super, super high. That's the way you're going to get the most organic reach, is by going live on these different social platforms. Definitely Facebook. We're live on Facebook right now on the Navitas page. We have 4 viewers there. We have 3 on Zoom. So it already shows you it's working. Another interesting thing about live stuff is you're actually starting to be able to go live on other platforms. For example, LinkedIn is starting to allow more and more people to go live on LinkedIn, and their algorithm for live is through the roof. When something happens, when someone goes live, that's a connection to me. I didn't sign up for this, but I just get a notification, and it pops right into my on my screen and into my email that someone is live. And I'm sure if you're actually on LinkedIn at the time, it also kind of inundates you with, hey, one of your connections is going live. So the algorithm is extremely high. And same thing, no editing required when you're doing a live video. Now, I did put here enhancements because I think this is key to understand that you can enhance live video with a little quality pre-production. Perfect example is what you're looking at right now. We are doing a live video. However, we put together some slides. Through Zoom, we can do a screen share, and now we're giving you these slides and information on your screen in addition to us speaking live. So we've enhanced it a little bit. So looking into those sorts of things when you're going live is recommended. Again, not required, but these are some things that can give you a little bit better production value with live video. And the last thing we're going to touch on here for the do-it-yourself are video series. And I wanted to really touch on this mainly because of the consistency element of it. I wrote down here consistency is queen, and quick shout out to our last Thursday Thoughts, Miss Stephanie Humphrey. We were chatting about apps and tech for small business, and I said content is king, and she said but consistency is queen, and I was like, well, first off, that's a great quote, and it's very accurate. Having content is definitely required, but your consistency is what's really going to have a lasting impact on your business, on people, looking forward to your content. It's very, very important to have that consistency element. So that's why I suggest when folks do videos, consider about doing it in a series, or some people will call it a campaign. Give you a quick example, again, just using us right now, Thursday Thoughts. We do this every other Thursday. We're consistent with it. Doesn't matter if there's only 10 people watching right now. We know that if we're consistent with it, by the time we hit 2021, we might be averaging 20 people a show, and then 40 people a show. All those folks you see on YouTube and on these different platforms, when they started, they did not have 200,000 subscribers. It's the consistent content they're putting out. And of course, the sometimes obnoxious, consistent asking for people to subscribe and to share, which I'll do that right now. Make sure you're sharing this link on Facebook or share the Zoom link so you can get more of your friends and folks in here watching. But that consistency is very important. And for a lot of people starting out, small business owners, entrepreneurs, the first time you do a video, a selfie video or a live video, it will feel awkward. If it's not something you're used to, it's not going to be like, oh, I want to do this tomorrow, or I want to do this every week. You're not going to have that feeling. It's going to feel like you are in an uncomfortable space and you're not too sure if you want to do it again because it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. I'm here to tell you, forget all that. Consistency is queen. You must be consistent with your content creation. The only caveat to consistency that I'll throw out there is if you're doing, a specific video project, like an explainer video for your business. You don't need to do an explainer video every week or every month. One is fine. But when it comes to really populating your social platforms and creating some of these selfie videos or live videos, I suggest you come up with a way you can do it on a recurring basis. And again, that consistency in those series are going to solidify your status as an expert. Now people are going to be used to seeing you. People are going to start to look for your content. And now you become a resource of information. And that evolves into a resource for business. So what we'll do now is we'll actually jump into the pros. And shout out to Vernon Ray. We got a little picture of him over there working in his minor Philly gear.
Okay.
So what we just covered, we're talking about stuff you can do yourself. All this stuff you do not do yourself, of course, unless you have that skill set, which most folks do not. So we'll give you some tips on what you would be creating and why. First thing on here, TV ready commercials. First off, I didn't know the difference between a commercial and a TV ready commercial. So I'll have Kyree kind of explain that. But this is just very high quality. Not only are you producing these with quality cameras, but it has something to do with the production that goes into it, the person behind the camera who's directing this, all the pre-production that goes into planning on what you're recording and what this commercial is going to look like. It's a totally different process than just putting a video on social media. And one of the more difficult things about the process, in my opinion, is being able to get a point across and to tell your story in a short amount of time, which typically is 30 seconds or less. You rarely see TV commercials going much longer than that, especially if, like, for example, you're watching the Super Bowl. A minute commercial in the Super Bowl is going to cost $4 million, $5 million. We're talking about 30 seconds or less. Can you get a point across? And usually the easiest way to do that is with comedy, humor, bringing in other elements that typically you're not able to do that well on those, videos you do yourself. But Kyree, tell the folks a little bit about what a TV commercial really means, what it is, and the fact that it doesn't mean we're just using it for TV.
Right. So one thing that is a glaring difference is when you're doing selfie videos, when you're doing content that's made for social media, especially excluding YouTube, people, especially with their businesses are often direct, meaning whatever the content that they're putting up is in direct relation to what they do. And that's when they're talking about an advertisement. Obviously, a lot of people, myself included, I post my kids on my social media. I post my relationship information on social media. I'm an open book type of guy. Some people only post about their brand and their business, and they only have that page. That's how some people use social media. What you'll notice in television commercials is the commercial is rarely, I'm not going to say never, but it's rarely about the product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that depends on what the product is, right? Car commercials are obviously always about the cars, usually about the cars. But a lot of the big name brands, their goal is to make you laugh. And then, oh, by the way, Doritos. Their goal is to connect you with some celebrity. And then, oh, by the way, Pepsi, right? It's never Pepsi has this amount of sugar and it makes you feel this way. And those are the types of commercials that you would have seen from Pepsi 40 years ago when Pepsi first started and people didn't know what it was. But now their brand is so big, they just want to keep it on your mind. And the best way to keep it on your mind is to do something that you will remember. That's why you see animals and puppies and cute kids and those types of things in these types of ads, because they want you to share with someone. They want you to say, oh my God, the commercial is hilarious. It's so-and-so and so-and-so. And then Jake from State Farm, right? You laugh and you remember, because that laugh quantifies retention, right? If you liked it that much, State Farm sells insurance. That's all you need to retain, right? And you hear that thing enough that you just know it. And that was something that a good mentor friend of mine, shout out to Harold Epps, told me one day along my journey. He said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, people don't need what you sell every day. You have to remember that. So now you can't push a video on, because that was what I sell videos. So you can't just push a video on somebody because they might not need it. And earlier on, my sales thoughts were, I'm going to sell you on you need a video, right? And I was so wrong. And when he said that, it kind of, I stopped doing it that way. And I was like, okay, I need to work on people knowing that I do video. Top of mind. It's the same way when you want a refreshing drink or you need electrolytes, you think of Gatorade, right? You may not have been thinking of it at that time, but you know what it does. Mm-hmm. You know the benefits. That is so, so important when you're doing your marketing. A lot of times we like to sell people right now. They might not be in the mood for a cheeseburger, but if they know you make great cheeseburgers, they're your customer when they want one.
Right.
So ever since like that conversation, I started to think about, okay, I just have to make sure that people know I'm synonymous with video content. And to that point, nowadays, my phone rings. I literally just got a booking while I'm sitting here from someone who just knows I do video content. Mm-hmm. She didn't see an advertisement or anything like that. This is someone that came to me, said, hey, I have XYZ I want to do. And, I'm going to be ready in a couple of weeks and I'm going to do it. And now she just booked. When I do advertising, this is a pro tip too for everybody, every content creator that's out there, that's especially a business owner of their own, freelance or whatever it may be. Right now, today, I've worked myself into always having something on my schedule. Like, for example, I'm going to show y'all real quick a little glance. That's my calendar for September, right? There's something on almost every day. So I can't really afford this bombardment of clientele, because now something else is going to suffer, whether that be, time with my kids, time with my girl, building on some of the things that are already on that calendar. Babe, can you take this and pay them and they're bringing the car back? where was I? Yeah. So when I do promotions, I do those promotions because I want to buy something or I need to buy something. Now, there's a very distinctive, pattern in that. And this is why this is a pro tip, because when I first started in the game, I used to see something new and shiny and I used to just buy it. And many times it used to just sit on the shelf. And Zach, I know I'm on a tangent. I'll get back to TV Ready commercial, but this is all relative. It would just sit on the shelf. I would barely use it. And I'd be like, damn, I spent all of that money on this thing, and I'll get them next time. Someday I'll use it. I have so much equipment that has been used 5 times, 6 times. And I'm talking about I've been doing this almost 10 years now. So if you only use something 5 times, like, why would you purchase that thing? It probably would have been a better rental. But what I learned was, okay, when I need something, I'm going to put that something into the client budget, right? And that's not a bad practice or a janky practice, because if the client's job calls for this thing, then it is client responsibility. Happens all the time with rentals and the whole 9. But now what that does for me is that allows me to offer future clients that service with that thing, and I didn't pay for it, quote unquote, right? So that's a pro tip. The other thing is, when I want something, when I want this thing, it's going to help out my productions, of course, but it's something that I want. It's not something that I need for a production that's right now. What I do is I do a special. So right now I'm doing a special, shameless plug, because there's camera and camera gear to go with it that I want. So I'm running a special. It's going to be September 27th. It's called the 3 for 500, where any business owner can come and shoot 3 30 to 60-second commercials, 3 of them. You have 1 hour to do so. I'm going to add B-roll stock footage to those commercials for you, and I'm going to edit them up, and it's only going to cost you $500. All right. So that's my current special. But getting back to the are they going to leave the keys in the car?
One thing I'll add into that, just 'cause I know we want to move on to these other topics. What you mentioned about Harold Epps and what he told you and how that changed your opinion, that is literally basically a microcosm of the difference between outbound marketing and inbound marketing. You were pushing out what you have to sell, which is very traditional. It's not that there's never a place for it, but you noticed that that might not have been the most successful way for your particular product.
Right.
And then you switched it to, let me inform people that I do this, that I'm good at this, that I'm an expert in this, and that I'm available when they need me.
Right.
That's inbound. So you went from the outbound to the inbound from that advice that Harold gave you. And again, I'm a huge fan of inbound marketing. I've been on the outbound side before. I've made 100 phone calls a day to try to sell a product. I think the method of putting that information out there and letting people come to you is just much more successful.
Right. Now, before you go to explainer, let me just tie in 2 more differences with TV Ready and something made for social media. So Zach talked about bringing out the big cameras and all of that type of thing, and making sure the quality is there, but also the preparation. So another thing that we mentioned when selfie video is, idea, record, right? Preparation is the most important ingredient for a high quality television commercial. All right. Get it out your mind that these things just happen. They don't. Some of them take years of planning, right? And most of them take at least tens of thousands of dollars, at least. A commercial that you see on television that's by a big company, whether that's Progressive, State Farm, I mentioned, Doritos, these types of commercials, I would be shocked to see a budget for one of them be less than $100,000. I would be impressed. And I'm talking about the 30-second variety, the kind that airs on any platform you want to name, not the kind that's only made on social media. I'm talking about it could go on the Super Bowl if you wanted it to. Those types of commercials have very high budgets because those companies can afford to hire experts in every necessary position, right? And that expertise costs money.
Right.
A lot of you may remember the famous who killed Hamilton? Burr. And the dude had the cookie in his mouth and he needed some milk. It was a got milk commercial. That was Michael Bay's like career breaking commercial. A lot of people don't know that. And that commercial was, he got that commercial after, what was he doing? Victoria's Secret, like videography for that type of thing. And that commercial broke him back in that time because it was so different. It was satire. It was something people hadn't seen. And those types of things are going to cost you money. That's the type of thing that you take that time, you put the preparation in. But, and I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday, there are commercials that we saw when we were kids that still come on today. And that's because they were that effective and they still work. And these companies know if we put a couple dollars behind this particular commercial and just put this out again, we don't have to hire that crew that created the commercial. So the cost to put it out dramatically goes down. And now they have a piece of content that is still going to work for them. Your business can do the same thing, and stop thinking about millions of people and millions of dollars. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the selfie video is, I just want to get a point across to make sure people know what I do and that I'm an expert in what I do. The TV ready commercial is basically that, see, I told you I was an expert. Why are you working with those little guys who don't have anything that's polished and performs like this type of thing that I'm putting out here? So you can do a 1,000 selfie videos and just do that one high quality polished video commercial that you're going to make an investment in your brand, right? So those are one of the bigger differences. And production quality is expected when you're doing something that's TV ready, where the suspense of the reality, meaning whatever I get is what I get, is what people are expecting on social media. So those are two distinct differences. Don't think you're just going to hire some camera guy off the block and get a TV ready commercial done. They're not even going to have to be able to produce the specs and the quality that's needed. You take that to Comcast and they'll laugh you out the building because they will say, well, we can't, this won't work on our platform. The quality has to be there that when they air it on anything, someone's watching in their tablet, someone's watching on an 80-inch TV, they put it on a movie screen theater, the quality is there that's going to, span all of those different devices. So I'm sorry for being long-winded on that one.
No problem at all. No problem at all. It's good information. I hope you folks are taking notes. And again, in terms of creating those commercials, you can always reach directly out to us, and then we can walk you through that pre-production process and figure out what it would cost to create what your vision is. Next thing we had on here was explainer video. And so the reason why I have explainer video on here, first off, a lot of people think it's a commercial. It's not. Typically, these can be a little longer. I've done these at max, maybe 2 minutes. I like these in that 60-second to 90-second sort of space. But this is that video that would live on your website that boosts your traffic. This is your first impression. It's very important that when someone takes the time to go to your website and check out your information, that they get as much information as possible as quickly as possible. You saw that stat we put up earlier, that 95% of that information is retained through video versus 10% through text. So if I go to your website and it's just words about what you do, chances are I'm not going to retain it. I'm not going to remember it after I read it. If you have a video that it properly explains what you do, now I'm like, okay, I fully get it. And that's a better chance of me going forward and using your services.
And that all, if I can jump in, that speaks to how we learned today too, right? So that's another reason why that information is retained. The way we learn today is, where was it? There was once a time when you knew you had to retain what you read. Now you only got to remember the hashtag or the .com or the at page, wherever you were, to go back and get that information. So that's what people learn now. They learn that I can just Google it. Where we used to have to say, instead of me having to go all the way back to the library and take this book out again and read this chapter again, I'd better retain this information now, right? Nowadays, we just know I'll go back to their website. So that's one of the reasons why it's great to have an explainer video on your website. It can be short or it can be long. It depends on what you do. Some people's explanation is in their elevator pitch. We've all heard really amazing elevator pitches where we're like, I get it. I know exactly what you do.
Right.
Me and Zach can contest. We've had some explainer videos that we needed to do that actual explainer video to figure out what the heck some of these people did. And not because they couldn't figure out how to do it, but there are some complicated businesses.
Right.
Your business is complicated, or maybe you have a spin on something that's normal or whatever. You have to have an explainer video, because what an explainer video gives you the ability to do that text does not is, in an explainer video, at the same time, in a 30, 60, 90, or even 2-minute period, I can tell you what I do, just like I'm looking at you on the screen. I can put the words up as to what I do and stats as to why it's effective at the same time. And I can show you images of what I do all at the same time. And believe me, we've all watched films before. We've read subtitles and watched a movie. We've all done it before. Humans are smart enough to retain those 3 different types of information coming at us all at the same time. And guess what else we're smart enough to do that I have to tell clients all the time? We're smart enough to push pause and read the information or go back to the information that we thought was interesting. So don't ever, I think people, especially older people, are still hung up in the old school commercial. If it goes off and I missed it and I didn't write that phone number down, oh, I'm out of luck. That's not how content works nowadays on social media, YouTube, and the whole nine. Trust me. People, you can favorite things, you can save things for later, you can do all of these things, but you can't do them if you don't have the piece of content. Because what people aren't going to do is they're not going to copy your blog post and then email it around and do those types of things. That's too much work, right? I'm not saying it can't be done and people haven't done it, but that's too much work. People just want a link. How many times you hear that? Oh, send me the link. Send me the hashtag.
Right.
Whose page is it on? That's the way you have to communicate. And an explainer video is great at the top of your page because it's going to raise your SEO, and it's going to, everything that's on your website, you can really teach people in 30, 60, 90 seconds in a good explainer video.
100%.
Right? So they're super duper important.
Indeed. Indeed. 2 more types of videos we're just going to talk about, and I'll do these together because you kind of already saw them. Are live videos and a video series. So we talked about this when we were talking about doing it yourself. You can also do them with the pros, and again, you get a different sort of a product. So when it comes to live video, I'm really speaking about producing content that's going to give you that TV production style and feel. It's not you just going live on Facebook and saying information, but it's actually going live with a production. And that can have dramatic effects on your reach, on the ability to monetize what you're doing. Us at My New Philly, we've produced, I don't even know how many shows live at this point. We had at least 4 or 5 running consecutively, and we're constantly perfecting how we go live on multiple platforms. So we have the ability to go live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all at the same time. And again, that just broadens your reach and who you're being able to contact. And the other great thing is it differentiates your content from others. Like I said, there's levels. So those live videos you're producing, everyone can do that. You know, the folks who are in your industry or in your service and aren't as good as you, they're doing live video. Quite frankly, they might be better at doing, do it yourself live video than you are. But anyone on any level can produce that. Not everyone can get what they need to do to produce a professional live video. And again, it's an investment, but now your rewards are so much greater when it comes to professional live production. And same sort of professionality that enhances your business when we talk about a video series. You get a higher level of trust when they look clean and professional. And I put on here, producing in bulk saves time and money. And what I mean by that is we've done video series with clients where You know, they want to give out tips about their industry. You know, they want to tell people these little facts, and we suggest, of course, always do it as a series. That repetition and consistency is key, but that doesn't mean you're breaking the bank. You can actually come to a studio and film 10 or 15 of these tips in one shot. So now it's really our work on the editing job to chop those up into 15 clips. Now that's 15 weeks of content you're putting out, and you only spent one day filming. Doing video series in that sort of a fashion, again, really enhance the brand, give you a clean professional look. And it's easier for us. We rather do that than have to set up cameras and lights and shoot you on Tuesday every week for the next 15 weeks. We don't want to spend that time to do that. We don't want to have to charge you that amount of money that it's going to cost for us to set up and break down every time. It's much better when you come and do it at once, and you can make it look like you didn't do it at once. I mean, and Kyree can tell you, we have a dressing room in our studio for a reason. People come with multiple outfits. They film a couple in one shirt, go change the shirt, come film a few more. Now, when those pieces come out at different points in time, no one can tell you shot those at the same day.
And the crazy part about that, Zach, is that you can even do that like instantly almost, you know, like you can make your Zoom look like it's a whole nother, you know, and then the next thing you know, you're no, but that's that's something that you can use for your selfie videos too, because oftentimes, like even right now, like I have videos in my phone that I've already recorded that were ideas that, you know, I had and popped up. And, you know, you might not want to, you know, flood your audience with 5, 6 videos about the same type of content a day, right? But if you're doing different pieces of content to just kind of raise your Instagram following or your social media profile or whatever, that's fine. Like me, I'll throw up something about video content. Then I'll post something about relationships. Then I'll say, oh, I'm eating here tonight or whatever. I just use my social media openly, but that's me, right? So you can do the bulk production on your own.
Right.
If you don't hire someone, you can say, you know what, I do it all the time. When I did my wedding style videos and stuff like that, I just pick 5, 10 outfits, whatever I'm going to do, pick my little backdrops, set up my lighting and all of that, throw up my camera phone, and I just go. Bang, here's my first one. Bang, here's my second one. That way it saves you time, right? When you're doing it with a production company, it's going to save you time and money, because most companies are going to bill per day. Some companies do bill per project, and then there's kind of a mergence of the two. Oftentimes with Focus Studios, I'll assess, like obviously I have my day rates and I have all those types of things, but I'll assess what the deliverables are, because that's another thing people don't consider is, what do you want back from me after I shoot this content? That's where a lot of videographers get in trouble, because they just charge this amount, and then the client has this idea in their head that's like, all right, well, I want 16 videos cut from that 2-hour piece that we did, and and the videographer might be like, well, I thought I was just going to put together the 2 hours, but now you got to cut it into 16 pieces, and you got to add bumpers to each one, and the time just that you thought you were going to put into it just balloons. So you have to know the deliverables first.
Right.
And if you can put the client into a deliverable box that they weren't thinking about, I can't tell you how many clients I've had be like, oh, you know what? It would make sense to shoot 10 in one day. When in their mind, they had it like they had to come back 10 times. No, why do that? That's more work and time on both of our part. Let's shoot all 10 and let's get them done and get them out of here, right? So that's I'm talking about the series type of content. A little bit on the live production side. This is my opinion. The live production should be reserved for that time when you're really doing something captivating, right? And that doesn't mean you can't do a show. You can do a show. You got a good idea for a live show. Cool. We can do that too. But a lot of people just go live. And in my opinion, once again, it waters down the live experience, because sometimes I think people, they do it to just kind of show off, and they just like, oh, I'm out here at the bar, or I'm in the park, and oh, I'm eating cereal, and they just go live. I can't tell you what to do with your own social media, but if you produce a quality piece, shout out to my guy Herman Dolce with the Blueprint Summit. Zach and I just had the pleasure on working on that. This was something that he planned. It was going to be in person. He retooled because of COVID. He was able to sell it. I just had a meeting with him last week. He was not only able to sell it live, but he's now selling the rebroadcast. So he's making the money again. And that comes from the preparation and the high quality production that he put into his live program. Right. So for someone like that, he's probably not going to go live all the time and just kind of spoil his live audience, because believe it or not, that's a different audience, right? He's not going to spoil that audience and then come out with this super polished thing, because the audience won't be ready for that. Mm-hmm. But when his thing is super polished every time, now the audience is like, oh yeah, if it's going up, I know what it's going to be. It's investable. I'm going to spend money on it and the whole nine. So, that's my opinion. I know people, are going to do what they want to do with that live button, but I rarely watch people's lives. If it's up to me, I'm tuning into you when I want to tune into you. I'm not going to really watch your live program.
And here's a line that gets blurred a lot too, which I recommend try not to blur this line if you're an entrepreneur or small business, is business content versus personal content. Let's say if it's Facebook and it's your personal account, do all that stuff if you want to. Show someone your cereal, your breakfast, whatever. Don't do that on your business page. Don't do that on your entrepreneurial, page. That's where you want to have this more polished content, or at least your raw do-it-yourself content that actually speaks towards your industry and has some relevancy. When you start mixing the two, you're going to start to dilute your audience, and folks really won't know what to pay attention to when you post. We're going to wrap this up real quick because I know it's coming up on 1. I'm going to put these video tips up, and quick shout out to Taja, who asked a question, which actually is going to be in these tips. She asked us, are lower thirds always necessary for videos? So a couple things I put on here as tips. First, I put on add captions. 85% of videos viewed on Facebook are watched without sound. Facebook now actually offers an auto captioning option. I've noticed this actually on live videos. When our team does Trust the Process live and I'm watching live, I'm actually reading what they're saying as well. And it's fairly accurate. It's not that bad. But if you're going to produce an edited video and put it out there, if you can add captions, it'll only boost how many people are going to be watching it and appreciating it. I also have on here, keep your videos 2 minutes or less for maximum engagement and shareability. These trends are being...
That one I disagree with, but go ahead.
What I was going to say is these trends are being bucked more and more now that more folks are watching video on all platforms and consuming it. This was a firm thing 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Now I think you can actually go longer with your content. But before we get into this last one, feel free to give your 2 cents on that, Kyree.
Well, you gotta pay attention to the algorithms. Right. All right. So, and this one is if you're going to be a true content creator, you have to create within the algorithm for whatever platform, and now whatever type of content you're doing on that platform. So for an example, IG Live, they want you to be longer than a minute, right? Mm-hmm. Reels is now a thing on IG. They want you to be 15 seconds. Right? If you want to, there's different shareable functionality for an IGTV versus a regular 59-second or less Instagram video. So if you want that higher shareability, your video should be less than a minute, right? But if you want the boosted algorithm, the IGTV method is still going to be higher. Right now, Reels is the higher boosted algorithm, the highest boosted algorithm on Instagram right now, because they want you to use that feature and play with that feature. IGTV was the same way when it first came out. You saw almost 400% boost in your engagement when you made an IGTV. It's a lot lower now. Excuse me. It's a lot lower now. But the Reels engagement is quite high. I don't know the percentage, but I'll make up one because people always do. It's 358% high. your regular Instagram post.
Yeah, nobody listen to that part.
Right. But yeah, so know the platform because, and here's another thing, YouTube wants you to be 10 minutes or higher. That's where they're going to boost your algorithm, because YouTube figures that if they can get you to watch for 3 minutes, there's higher likelihood that you'll buy something based on what you're watching and retain that information and become, you know, a subscriber or whatever based on their stats. So what they're doing is they're saying they can predict that people are watching 30% of the length of the video that they click on. So they're giving you a boost once your video goes over 10 minutes because they think, or I don't want to say think, they've gathered data that says you'll watch that 10-minute video for at least around 3.
And to give some more clarity to that, what they're winning at is, you know, Google ads. They're putting ads in these videos. So the longer you watch, the more ads they can push in front of you. So if you have longer content that people are actually watching and engaging with, that's very valuable, because now they could run 4 or 5 commercials in that time frame. So, you know, longer content for YouTube is definitely winning right now. And the last tip we have on here is don't forget to edit. The small details like intro, outro screens, names, and music can drastically elevate your content. So to answer your question, Taja, I recommend, if you have the ability to, yes, add lower thirds. Put names and words on your production. Clearly, not everyone can do that for every single project, but it does add production value to what you're doing. So if it's feasible, I recommend doing that whenever possible.
And also, don't forget about your caption. That's something that people always forget too. Where are you posting this? Because you don't have to put all of the information in the video. People will still read your caption, especially if they like the video. So sometimes maybe you don't put a lower third, but you put the person's @ name who's speaking. Really works the same way.
And actually, glad you mentioned that, because it made me think of this mistake I made in that first tip. I said add captions. That should say add subtitles. That's what I was referring to. Captions are very important. I learned this the hard way with Kyree over producing hundreds of episodes of sports content, where he would basically say, my captions suck. You need a better title. No one's going to click on it. You need that clickbait. And that is true. In order to get more people interested, the first thing they're seeing is what that title is or what that caption is. So the more attractive you can make it, the better it is. You'll get more viewers to check it out.
I have a question, excuse me.
Yes, Taja, give us a question.
As far as videos, like, I know you say you have to be consistent with content creation, but how do you know, like, how to spread out calls to actions? Like, you don't want to do it, like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to do it every single video because you'll just kind of be annoying, but you do still want to get that crowd engagement. So what do you suggest, like every few videos or so?
So I personally am a fan of a call to action in everything I put out. I just don't always make it obvious. I don't always make it where it's very pushy. Usually I do it towards the end. And I'll say, you know, if you'd like more information, then do this. Or if you have further questions, or if you'd like to take advantage of this limited time offer, do this. I usually will weave some of that towards the end of whatever I'm putting on social, or if it's a video or something along those lines. As you saw today, we playfully weaved in call to actions as we were talking. So that's my personal preference towards bringing in call to actions. What about you, Kai?
Yeah, I would say if you're a business and that's your primary social media function or reason you're creating video content, then the call to action is where you really should start. You know, people should understand why you're doing this. And one of the good things is, like we mentioned, consistency is queen. The more consistent you are, the less you'll need that call to action. People will know. That's how, like I mentioned earlier, brands like Doritos or Budweiser or Pepsi, they get away with them not ever saying, go buy a Pepsi. We're the best cola or anything like that. They get away with that because people know the brand. They've been so consistent over time. And here's the thing about that consistency. It's not just in creating content or whatever. It's what your brand does. Because at the end of the day, word of mouth is always going to be the best marketing tool for you. Yes. So now you just have to stay top of mind and consistent, but people have to talk about it, right? Like, I love Pepsi. So I'm going to always say to people, I love Pepsi, or can I get a fresh Pepsi, or whatever it might be. I'm going to choose Pepsi when there's Coke or Pepsi. I don't like Coke, right? So it doesn't matter how many commercials that they show me, but I still know it exists. But the consistency of how delicious, let's say, a Chick-fil-A is anywhere you go is why I go, right? I've never even actually seen a Chick-fil-A commercial now that I think about it. I've seen a
Really?
billboard.
They're on all the time.
More chicken. I don't remember seeing
Remember
one.
the cows making the signs and spelling chicken wrong?
Yeah, I feel like I've seen on billboards, but you're right. That rings a bell now. But the point that I'm driving home is your business consistent first? Who cares about your content? Is your business consistently delivering the product that you're now going to start to advertise, right? Then now is your advertising consistent? Because people will talk as well. And now your call to action is going to become, I'm a brand new business. I'm a roofing company. Here's the top 5 reasons you should hire me over the other guys. And then it's going to change because people are going to speak word of mouth. And then you're going to start to talk more of your expertise. I'm the top roofer that does new glass roofing, and here's how you can get involved. And then it's going to change again to when it's just like, when you need a roof, call us. So, and then you'll probably be putting less advertising out because your bookings will have increased, right? So those call of actions are also going to change over time, you know. But I personally would say a call of action, if you're going to do any type of marketing, especially video advertising, the call of action is where you should start, but they should also match where your business is at that point.
And one thing I'll add before we close, I love that Kyree feels it should be at the top, because this is what makes good business partners, is that we both have different mindsets and strategies towards it. Neither one of us is wrong towards it. And now when we are serving a client, we can bounce different ideas off each other and figure out what's the best solution for this particular project or clientele. Is that call to action at the top?
Are you talking about, you see, yeah, you're talking about placement. I'm not talking about placement. I don't care where the call to action comes in the video. I was saying when you're thinking about creating content, you should know what the call to action is. That's what I meant by top.
Well, that wasn't really answering Taj's question, but what I'm telling you is it's good because we disagree on stuff all the time. And that makes us better at serving clientele because of those different opinions. Folks.
What was it? It was content is king, quality is queen, diversity is bishop, or rook.
Anyway, if you guys want to follow Kyree Terrell, please do so at Kyree Terrell on Instagram, or email him at kyreeterrell@gmail.com. And in the email, we can figure out the order of this bishop, queen. I don't know.
Right.
But we'll work it out. Clearly here at Navitas Marketing, we also offer a 20-minute free consultation to anyone who would like one to discuss your marketing goals, strategy, technique. And if it's about video, guess what? We're going to bring in Kyree Terrell to work on that project. So again, appreciate you for being with us, Kyree. Really looking forward to maybe even doing this a third time. We might have to run this in 2021, just bring you back and let folks who missed this get a chance to interact again. Thank you to all the people trying to reach Natasha on her laptop. It's been fun to know how that's popping off today. And of course, the folks that joined us live here or on Facebook, we so much appreciate you. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another Thursday Thoughts with some special guests. And till then, you guys have a good one. Talk to you.
Cool beans.